If you're watching this video right now, chances are you've seen time move in ways that words can't describe. Maybe you've held the hand of an aging parent and felt their once strong fingers grow frail. Maybe you've looked into the mirror one quiet morning and realized that the face looking back at you isn't quite the same as it used to be. A little softer, a little slower, but filled with more memories than you could ever count. Aging is a beautiful story, but it's also one that comes with unspoken truths. There comes a time when the body, like a faithful old companion, begins to whisper, softly at first, then more clearly, that it's growing tired. These whispers are the subtle signs that a person may be approaching their final year of life. They are not always dramatic or sudden. Often, they're gentle, like the fading of light at sunset, peaceful, quiet, and easy to overlook. But before we go further, let me say this clearly: this video isn't meant to bring fear or sadness. It's meant to bring understanding, to help you recognize the tender signs of change. Not to panic, but to prepare, to love more deeply, to cherish more fully. Because sometimes, knowing what's happening gives us the strength to face it with grace, and to give our loved ones, or even ourselves, the dignity, comfort, and peace we all deserve. Now, let's begin with the first, and perhaps most emotional sign: a deep and sudden withdrawal from life's rhythm. You see, when people enter the later chapters of their lives, they often grow quieter, not because they've lost interest, but because they've begun to focus inward. You might notice your father, once the loudest voice in the room, now sits silently, lost in thought. Or your grandmother, who used to love chatting for hours, now prefers the stillness of her favorite chair. This withdrawal isn't always depression. Sometimes, it's a natural process, a kind of spiritual retreat. The mind begins to turn away from the noise of the world and prepares itself for rest. It's as if their soul starts saying, "I lived enough stories. Now, I just want peace." Many family members mistake this for sadness or loneliness, and sometimes it is. But often, it's deeper. The elderly person may seem less interested in plans, less reactive to news, and more content just watching the world pass by. Their eyes might linger on sunsets longer, their words might come slower, and their smiles, though fewer, feel somehow wiser, calmer, more accepting. It's as if they're beginning to say their quiet goodbyes, not out loud, but through small silences that only those close to them can hear. The second sign is something we often notice but rarely understand: a gradual change in appetite and sleep. When the body knows its time is nearing, its needs begin to change. Meals that once brought joy start to feel heavy. The body doesn't crave food the same way anymore, because it's no longer preparing for tomorrow's energy, it's preparing for peace. You might see them skip meals or say they're not hungry, even when their favorite dishes are served. This doesn't always mean something is wrong. Sometimes it's simply nature's way of slowing down. The digestive system becomes gentler, and the body conserves energy for comfort instead of survival. Sleep changes too. Some begin to sleep more, as if each nap carries them closer to serenity. Others may rest less at night, but doze during the day, their minds drifting between wakefulness and dreams. Family members might worry, but it's important to understand these rhythms are not signs of giving up. They're signs of the body transitioning into a slower, more peaceful pace. The elderly body is incredibly wise. It knows how to prepare itself quietly, gently, respectfully. Then comes the third sign: a sudden surge of clarity or unexpected energy. This one is perhaps the most mysterious. There are times, often days or weeks, before a person's passing, when they suddenly seem better. They become more alert, more talkative, even more cheerful. They ask for foods they haven't wanted in months. They talk about old memories with remarkable detail. Loved ones often think they're getting better, but sometimes, this is what many caregivers and doctors call the rally before the rest. It's as though the person's spirit wants one last chance to connect, to express love, to say goodbye, not through words of sorrow, but through moments of light. It can be confusing, but it's also profoundly beautiful. If this happens, embrace it. Listen, laugh with them, let them tell their stories, because sometimes the soul gathers all its remaining strength to leave the world with grace. Our fourth sign is one that touches the heart deeply: a softening of emotions. The elderly person may begin to express forgiveness or gratitude in unexpected ways. They might apologize for things long forgotten, or suddenly thank you for the smallest kindness. Anger fades, resentment dissolves. It's as if they're letting go of the weight they carried. You'll see it in their eyes, a kind of acceptance, a peace that words can't capture. This isn't always visible to everyone, but to those who truly know them, it's unmistakable. Their emotional energy turns inward toward closure, understanding, and love. It's the soul's way of preparing to move on in peace. Now, let's talk about the fifth sign. Something many caregivers quietly notice: a subtle decline in physical strength and coordination. The changes can be so gradual that they almost go unnoticed. A once steady hand begins to tremble slightly when holding a cup. A walk that used to be brisk now comes with pauses, as if each step requires more thought. Even lifting a small object feels tiring. These are not just signs of aging. They can be gentle indications that the body's energy reserves are running low. Muscles grow weaker, reflexes slow down, and the body's balance begins to shift. Sometimes, you'll see a faraway look in their eyes, a kind of stillness that wasn't there before. It's not just physical fatigue. It's the body saying, "I'm tired now. I've done my work." And yet, there's a quiet dignity in that tiredness. Every wrinkle, every tremor, every sigh tells a story of years lived, of laughter, heartbreak, of survival. When we see these signs, instead of feeling sorrow, we can choose to feel gratitude, because each moment they remain with us is a gift, a chance to listen, to hold their hand, to remind them they are still loved, still seen, still deeply valued. You see, as people enter their final year, life starts to become simpler, not because they stop caring, but because they finally see what truly matters. The small things that once seemed so urgent, the arguments, the deadlines, the possessions, they fade into the background. What stays is love, connection, warmth, the sound of a familiar voice, the comfort of a soft blanket, the joy of a shared smile. That's what the final chapter of life really is: not an ending, but a return to the essence of being human. And for those of us who care for them, whether we are children, grandchildren, friends, or neighbors, these signs are not just warnings. They are invitations. Invitations to slow down with them, to match their pace, to hold their hand a little longer. Because while the body may be fading, the soul is still listening, still feeling, still loving. If you've made it this far, take a deep breath. What you're hearing isn't just information, it's truth wrapped in compassion. It's the gentle voice that says, "You're not alone," because aging, for all its pain and beauty, is something we all share. Every wrinkle, every gray strand, every heartbeat that slows a little more with time, they all remind us that life is precious. And as our loved ones reach the final chapters of their story, they start to show signs that go beyond the body, signs that whisper from the soul. We've already spoken about the quiet withdrawal, the changing appetite, the sudden bursts of clarity, the softening of emotions, and the slowing of the body. Each of these is like a page turning in a story that's been beautifully written. Now, let's turn the page again, because there are more subtle signals, often overlooked, that tell us when someone we love may be nearing the end of their earthly journey. The sixth sign is something so delicate, so deeply human, that it's easy to miss unless you truly look: a shifting sense of time and awareness. As people approach their final year, they often begin to lose their grip on the calendar. Days blend together. They forget what day it is, not out of confusion, but because their mind is moving between two worlds: the one they've always known and another that's just beginning to unfold beyond our understanding. They might talk about seeing loved ones who've passed away long ago. They might say things like, "I saw your father last night," or "going home soon," even when they're already in their house. For some, this can sound worrying, but in truth, it's not always a sign of distress. Many hospice caregivers say this is one of the most profound experiences they witness, as if the soul is preparing itself by reconnecting with those who've gone before. It's not hallucination, it's transition, a bridge forming between this life and what comes next. These moments can be both eerie and comforting. The best thing we can do is listen, not correct. Hold their hand, let them talk. Whether you believe in the spiritual or not, what matters is that they feel safe enough to express what they see and feel. This shift in awareness often comes with the change in how they perceive reality itself. The things that once worried them, bills, politics, social issues, start to feel meaningless. Their focus turns inward. Their conversations may become more reflective, even poetic. They might say things that sound like riddles or metaphors, but in truth, they're expressing something deeper than language, a kind of wisdom that comes only at the edge of life. The seventh sign is a growing sensitivity to surroundings and sound. Elderly people in their final year often become highly attuned to subtle things, light, noise, or even emotional energy in the room. You might notice them asking for dimmer lights, or becoming irritated by sounds that never used to bother them. The truth is, their body is conserving energy, and every stimulus feels louder, brighter, heavier. Their senses are shifting, becoming both weaker and more refined at the same time. Some begin to enjoy soft music more deeply, as though the melody touches a part of them that words cannot reach. Others may find comfort in silence. The rhythm of life changes, and so does their need for space. They might not want visitors as often. They may prefer short conversations instead of long ones. Some may even ask to sit alone by the window or in their garden for hours. This isn't rejection, it's peace-seeking. The soul, in its final preparation, often desires quiet, the kind that allows it to breathe freely and think clearly. And this brings us to the eighth sign, a subtle but profound change in breathing and energy levels. If you've ever cared for someone elderly, you might notice their breathing patterns begin to shift long before the end arrives. It's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's as simple as longer pauses between breaths or a soft sighing sound. When they sleep, the body is beginning to conserve energy for the most essential functions. It's slowing down, like an old clock that's winding towards stillness. You might also see that they tire easily. Even talking for a few minutes can leave them exhausted. Walking across the room becomes a marathon. But here's the miracle: despite the body's decline, the spirit often grows stronger. You'll see moments of deep awareness, profound gratitude, even laughter. They might not have the strength to move mountains, but they'll have the strength to forgive, to love, to bless. And in the end, that's the kind of strength that truly matters. Sometimes, as their breathing changes, they begin to breathe in sync with something deeper, a rhythm beyond time. Caregivers often describe this as the rhythm of letting go. It's quiet, gentle, and deeply human. It's not a sign of giving up. It's a sign of surrender to peace, to rest, to the end of struggle. Now, the ninth sign is one that breaks hearts but also holds great meaning: a growing disinterest in earthly possessions and routines. People nearing their final year often begin to give things away: clothes, jewelry, old letters, books. They might say, "I won't need these anymore," or, "You take it. I want you to have it." It's not about loss. It's about passing on pieces of themselves to the people they love. They begin to declare not just their home, but their soul. Every item they give away is a way of saying, "I remember. I care. I want you to have something that holds my memory." This can be emotional for families, especially when the items are meaningful: father's watch, a mother's wedding ring, a grandmother's recipe book. But rather than resisting, we can see this as a sacred act. They're not saying goodbye. They're saying thank you. They're trying to leave behind lightness, not weight. And sometimes, this behavior appears even before any visible decline in health. It's the soul's intuition knowing, long before the mind does, that it's preparing for departure. Finally, we reach the 10th sign, perhaps the most tender of all, a deep sense of peace or quiet acceptance. This doesn't happen to everyone, but when it does, it's unmistakable. You'll see it in their eyes, a calm, steady light that says, "I'm ready." They stop fighting the process of aging. They stop worrying about what comes next. They may even say things like, "I'm at peace," or "I'm tired, but I'm okay." This acceptance is not sadness. It's wisdom. It's the spirit realizing that everything it came here to do it has done. This peace can arrive slowly, or all at once. Sometimes it comes after years of fear. Sometimes it arrives overnight. But when it does, it's transformative not just for them, but for everyone around them. You start to notice how their presence changes the atmosphere. The room feels softer, lighter. Their words become simpler, but more meaningful. They talk less about the future or about love. They smile more, even when their body hurts. They find joy in the smallest things. Sunlight through a curtain, the sound of rain, the laughter of children. And in that peace, there's an incredible lesson for all of us. Because if someone facing the end can find calm, maybe the rest of us in the middle of our busy, chaotic lives can too. Maybe peace was never meant to be something we find only at the end, but something we can practice every day while we still have time. So when you notice these signs, the quiet withdrawal, the change in appetite, the fading strength, the forgiving heart, the distant gaze, the soft breathing, don't be afraid. Instead, open your heart. It means their story is reaching its final chapter, but it's also becoming its most meaningful one. It's a time to honor them, to celebrate their journey, and to fill their remaining days with love, laughter, and dignity. The truth is, death isn't the opposite of life, it's a part of it. Every sunset carries the promise of a sunrise somewhere else. And when an elder reaches their final year, what they truly want isn't pity or panic. They want presence. They want to be seen not as fading, but as glowing, softly, beautifully, like a candle that has burned bright for so long, and is now simply flickering its last light with grace. So, as you sit beside them, maybe holding their hand, maybe just listening to them breathe, remember this: every heartbeat you hear, every sigh, every gentle smile, is life speaking in its most honest form. It's love, pure, unguarded, and timeless. If you've watched this far, it means your heart is strong, strong enough to face what most people avoid, strong enough to love someone through the hardest chapter of life. By now, you've learned the 10 subtle signs that may suggest an elderly person is entering their final year: the quiet withdrawal, the change in appetite, the gentle softening of emotions, the fading energy, the growing peace. But recognizing the signs is only half of the story. What truly matters is how we respond. Because this time, the last year, the final season, can be one of the most beautiful gifts life gives us, if only we know how to hold it gently. When a loved one begins to show these signs, the instinct for many of us is to resist. We try to fix it, to fight it, to pull them back to how they once were. We say, "You have to eat more," or "You'll get better soon," because we can't bear to imagine a world without them. And that's human. That's love in its rawest form. But here's the truth few of us ever learn: the end of life doesn't have to be a battle. It can be a dance, a soft, graceful letting go, where every gesture, every breath, every word becomes an expression of love. The most powerful thing we can do for someone in their final year is to replace fear with presence. When you sit with them, don't rush to fill the silence. Let the quiet be sacred. Sometimes, your calm presence says more than words ever could. You don't have to say, "Everything will be okay." Just hold their hand. Look into their eyes. Let them feel that they are not alone. Because deep down, that's what every human being longs for: not to live forever, but to be remembered, to be held, to be loved until the very end. You'll notice that as people grow closer to the end, their world begins to shrink. The things they once cared about, the news, the chores, the endless errands, no longer matter. What matters now is comfort, connection, and meaning. This is where you can make the greatest difference. Bring them the things that remind them of who they are: old photographs, favorite songs, the scent of their favorite meal. Read to them if they can't see clearly. Sit beside them, even if they're asleep. Tell them stories of the past, especially the ones that make them smile. You'll be surprised how much their heart still listens, even when their body doesn't respond. Sometimes, they might seem distant, their eyes lost in thought, their words fading, but that doesn't mean they're gone. The soul is still there, listening quietly. And your voice, your touch, your love, They reach deeper than you can imagine. Many caregivers say that people near the end can still hear the ones they love, even if they can no longer speak. So keep talking, keep whispering, "I love you." Those 3 words become like light in the dark, simple, but sacred. Another thing you may notice in the final months is a deep desire for closure. Your loved one might bring up old memories, even painful ones. They might apologize for things that happened long ago, or ask for forgiveness. Sometimes they'll want to give advice to tell you what to do when they're gone, how to live, what to remember. It can be emotional, but try to let them speak freely. This is their way of putting their life in order, of tying up loose ends so they can leave peacefully. Don't brush it off or change the subject. Listen with your heart, even if the words hurt, because what they're really saying is, "I love you, and I want to leave without regret." There will also be days when they don't want to talk at all, when they prefer to sit in silence, or just stare out the window. That's okay too. Silence is not emptiness. It's reflection. Imagine their mind like a book, flipping through the pages of their life, remembering the laughter of childhood, the thrill of youth, the love, the loss, the lessons. They are revisiting everything that made them who they are. And in those moments, what they need most is peace. Not noise, not advice, not distraction, just peace. And that peace often comes from the people around them. That's why your energy matters more than you think. If you bring anxiety, they'll feel it. If you bring calm, they'll rest in it. So take care of yourself too. Breathe, eat, sleep, step outside and touch the sunlight. Because your strength is what allows you to be their anchor. Remember, love doesn't mean sacrificing your well-being. It means being present, steady, and whole enough to hold space for theirs. You might also face moments when you wonder, are they ready? Should I talk about it? The truth is, if they bring it up, if they say things like, "When I'm gone," or "ready to rest," don't shut it down. Gently, lovingly, them speak. Talking about death doesn't hasten it. In fact, it often brings comfort. It releases fear. It allows them to express what's inside without shame. Sometimes, they just want to know that you'll be okay, that when they go, life will continue, that their love will live on through you. Reassure them. Tell them you'll carry their lessons forward. Tell them you'll be okay. That one promise can lift a tremendous weight off their heart. Now, for many families, the final year also brings something beautiful. Moments of rediscovered closeness. People who haven't spoken in years suddenly reconnect. Old wounds begin to heal. There's something about facing mortality that makes everything else seem small. The grudges, the pride, the stubbornness, they fade when you realize how fragile time really is. If your loved one reaches out to make peace, let them. If there's someone they want to see, help make it happen. Sometimes, a single conversation, a single hug, can bring more healing than years of therapy ever could. And if you're the one who needs to make peace, do it. Don't wait for the right moment. Every heartbeat is the right moment. Whether it's a phone call, a letter, or a whisper in their ear, let them know that you forgive them, or that you're sorry, or that you love them. Because when the curtain finally falls, it's not the arguments or the mistakes we remember. It's the love we gave and the love we withheld. Choose love, always. There's another truth that's rarely spoken but deeply important. The dying teach the living. Watching someone approach the end of their life can change you forever. It can make you softer, humbler, more grateful. It can remind you that what matters most isn't what we have, but who we are. You start to see how little time any of us really have. And suddenly, you want to live better. You want to call your friends more. You want to tell your kids you love them. You want to forgive faster and worry slower. This is the secret gift of the final year. It teaches everyone around to live more meaningfully. Sometimes, you'll notice moments that feel almost otherworldly, a kind of sacred stillness. Maybe your loved one says something like, "I see light," or "They're waiting for me." Or maybe they smile in their sleep for no reason. These moments aren't something to fear. They're part of the mystery of life. The way the soul begins to loosen its grip and prepare for what's next. Whether you see it as spiritual, natural, or simply human, it's something to honor. Let them go peacefully. Tell them it's okay to rest. Those words, spoken softly, can be the most powerful gift you ever give. And when that final moment does come, when they take that last breath, it will hurt, yes. But it can also be beautiful. There's a silence that follows, one that feels heavy and holy at the same time. In that silence, remember this: love doesn't die. The body may leave, but real love lingers in every memory, every photograph, every lesson they taught, every phrase you still hear in your heart. The end of their story becomes a seed that continues to grow in you. You carry their voice, their warmth, their humor, their courage. You are their continuation, and that's something eternal. So, what do we do after? We honor them, not with sorrow, but with gratitude. Light a candle, cook their favorite meal, play their favorite song, tell their stories to the next generation. Because as long as their story is told, they are never truly gone. And as for you, keep living, not just surviving, but really living. Because the greatest way to honor someone who has passed is to live your own life with the same grace they showed you. In truth, the signs we've talked about, those 10 subtle warnings, are not just about dying, they're about living. They remind us that every breath is borrowed time, every smile a miracle. They remind us to slow down, to hold hands longer, to look people in the eyes, to say, thank you, and I love you more often. The final year of someone's life isn't just their ending. It's a mirror that shows us how we should live ours. So, if you're watching this right now, maybe the message isn't just about them, maybe it's about you. Maybe it's life's way of whispering, don't wait to love. Don't wait to forgive. Don't wait to live. And if you are the elder watching, if you feel your body slowing, your spirit softening, know this: you are not alone. You are seen. You are valued. And your presence, even now, is shaping the hearts of those who love you. You don't need to fight time. You just need to rest in the beauty of all that. You've been a child, a dreamer, a parent, a friend, a soul who made the world a little brighter. In the end, life isn't measured by how long we live, but by how deeply we love. The final year, if approached with tenderness and truth, can be the most sacred season of all, not the end of a book, but the closing of a chapter written in grace. So hold them close, speak gently, love deeply, and when the time comes, let go not with despair, but with gratitude. Because every story ends, yes, but love, my friend, love never does. If this video brought you comfort or understanding, share it with someone who needs it. Let's remind the world that aging and death are not tragedies. They are part of the human story. And in every ending, there is beauty, there is peace, and there is love.